Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxy.
What's up, what's up, what's up? What's going on out there in boxing land? This is your host, Mark Roxy, and you are listening to the Boxing Breakdown. Thank you so much for being with us today on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Thank you very much, and I would like to welcome into the studio my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up, what's up, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, brother. What's going on?
Hey, man, just sitting here enjoying my new piece of material here that says the Boxing Breakdown.
Oh, you are sporting the merch. You definitely are. You are bona fide the Boxing Breakdown hat. Yo, that hat looks sleek on you, bro.
Oh, well, thank you, and yours does also.
Thank you, Harold. Yeah, it's awesome. And listen, speaking of sleek, you were absolutely outstanding this past weekend, December 4th, man. You killed it. For those of you that are tuning in today, again, welcome. And Harold Hunt and I had the distinct pleasure of joining Hard Hitting Promotions in Atlantic City at the Showboat Hotel, and we called the fights, man. And first of all, congratulations to Hard Hitting, and
yes,
because they put on once again another really awesome card filled with good fight after good fight after good fight after good fight, 6 times. Am I right?
Absolutely. They all were on point.
Yeah, man. And so did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, first I got to give you your kudos because you were excellent. As also, I couldn't have done what I did without you. Just follow you because you've done it before. It was my first time, so I just kind of followed your lead. But thank you for setting such a great example. Oh, there we go, smiling Jack. But I was extremely happy to be there, and Mark really helped me get through it. So thank you so much. But you were excellent yourself, sir.
Oh, Harold, man, come on, bro. You just first of all. Thank you for the compliment, as always. You know, you're always so complimentary to my work. You're one of my biggest fans, and I'm one of your biggest fans. So,
Thank you.
you know, I love you back. And it was a great night. And Manny Rivera and Will Ruiz, they both did a fabulous job putting together the show. And thanks to the production team there, Orlando and the whole crew, they did a great job at supporting us. And the fights, let's get into this business, man, because the fights, people, were phenomenal. Honest to God, these fights were one good fight after the other. The card opened up with Diane Boots, and he fought a guy named Jimmy Rosario. And that fight was just, do you remember that fight?
Yes, that was a great fight. I mean, there were so many. They're all pretty good, but that was one of the better ones also.
Yeah, and I remembered that Diane Butt was able to get the KO. I think it was the first round of that fight.
Yeah, but he showed a lot in that one round. He really showed his whole arsenal. And the other guy wasn't just like going away. He was overwhelmed. He was taken out of his game pretty quickly, but that one round that we did see was really competitive.
Yeah, it was. It really, really was competitive. It was a welterweight bout. It was a 4-round. Actually, pardon me, it was a 6-round contest, and it was. Diane made easy work of Jimmy Rosario that night.
He did.
And no disrespect to Jimmy Rosario for putting up a good fight, because he did land some pretty good combinations. I recall a beautiful overhand, couple beautiful overhands, couple beautiful uppercuts were landed in that bout, and but nonetheless, Diane Boot advances. I think his record is like 9-1, or is it? Did he go to the advance to 10-1? I think it might have been 10-1.
10-1, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. My brain isn't really working. Some nights, man, my brain just doesn't work super well. But I'm gonna try to quick charge it and get it super going here tonight. There was another fight, Desmond Lucas out of the Boogie Down Bronx. Boogie Down Bronx, Boogie Down Bronx,
Boogie
Boogie
Down
Down Bronx. Remember
Bronx.
that song?
Yes.
Yeah, Desmond Lucas fought a guy by the name of Antonio Sanchez, and that was also a welterweight contest. And so that was a great fight. It did go the distance, and Antonio Sanchez put up a good fight. He certainly he got his in the bout, but Desmond Lucas came out with the victory. I believe his nickname is the Technician. Is that correct?
Technician he was.
You remember that fight?
Yes, I do. There are etched in my mind because that was the first time I ever done anything like that. So everyone is in pocket with me. But yes, that was a good fight.
Harold, one of the fights, it like really dawned on me yesterday that the fight between Josue Rosa and Brian Alvarez, I don't know if you recall that fight. It was only a 4-round fight. It was at 122. So it was a bantamweight fight, bantamweight contest. And I didn't give that fight that much. There were so many good fights on the card, and that was the first fight of the night. And so I didn't really spend too much time thinking about it. But when I went and reflected on the card and thinking about the fight, the whole fight, that fight was phenomenal, man. Those two guys banged it out for 4 rounds in a telephone booth, back and forth, ebb and flow. Probably the closest fight and perhaps the most dynamic fight of the night. What are your thoughts about that?
Man, there was no holding. They were fighting out the clinch. The referee didn't have to do anything. And phone booths are extinct, right?
Right.
Man, they made one that night because they was right there in it, and they were really fighting really well. And it was nice not to see that kind of close combat without all the holding.
Right. Yeah, Earl
So
Brown did not have to do that much in that fight. Earl Brown was the referee in that fight, and he didn't really have to do that much because the boys were. I mean, those two guys were nonstop, ebb and flow, back and forth, hook, body shots. I will tell you that Alvarez did get the better of Rosa with the body shots, particularly. Do you remember that?
yes,
What
it was
thunderous
nice work.
body. Yeah, thunderous, bro.
He committed to him, man. He had the leverage and the placement. He did do that.
Yeah, and then we got to the special attraction of the evening, which was Nestor Bravo against Vitor Jones in a super lightweight contest at roughly 140, 41 pounds, somewhere in there. And I don't know what the actual weight was, but probably say 140, give or take, right? And
Yes.
Benji Estevez was the referee.
Benji.
Yeah, he was outstanding. He did an outstanding job in that particular fight. And again, competitive fight, not a one-sided fight, Harold.
Not at all. I mean, every fight was good, but if we want to talk about this one, it was you didn't know who would win the next round because no one really carried the momentum. So it was back and forth and back and forth. And I told Mark, hey, I didn't want to be a judge, and I'm a judge, right? I didn't want to be a judge in some of these fights. That fight for sure, because it was hard to distinguish who was winning and who wasn't.
Yeah, man, for sure. It was back and forth. Early on, it was back and forth for sure. It didn't go it was scheduled for 8. It was scheduled for 8, but it only made it 3. And I was very, very impressed at how Bravo was able to finish the fight. Do you want to walk us through how that went down? Do you remember?
Somewhat. I mean, they were also comparative. Is I have to think about the names, and then my mind will rewind it
Ah,
what it was. It was Bravo and
and
Jones.
Vitor Jones from
Yeah,
Brazil.
Vitor Jones. Okay. Oh yes. Mr. Jones came to fight. Uh, I was in the back with him before he came out, and he said, "Hey, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to punch in between this guy. I'm not going to let him set up and then punch my gloves. I'm going to be aggressive and punch when he's not punching." And he did that.
Right.
He actually did that. So yes, that was a good fight. Yes. Oh, show me a little graphics so I can recognize who's who. Yes, that was a good fight right there. He did exactly as he tried. He executed the game plan as he said he would.
Yeah, and Bravo came out with the victory, advanced to 19-0.
He did. He did.
Excuse me.
He
I was just gonna say he's like he's really put himself in quite a position, I must say.
yeah, he overcame the other gentleman's plan, but he looked really good. The other gentleman did, in fact, came to fight, but he was better and he was more prepared
Yeah,
in that he was able to score and win the rounds.
yeah, he was, and then we advanced to the co-main event, right? The co-main event was Anthony Juice Young versus
Juice,
versus Luis Maidial Sanchez from Puerto Rico, and
the juice is loose.
yeah, it was again, ladies and gentlemen, it was an 8 round contest. It was a very competitive fight, and I first of all I want to hear what your thoughts were on the fight, and then I'll share mine with you. And by the way, Earl Brown, Albert Earl Brown, was the referee for that fight too, and he really earned his money that fight because that fight there was a lot of infighting. Go ahead, Harold.
Well, Juice showed that he has a dog in him.
Yeah.
We did an interview. He said he had the dog, and he actually showed that in the way that he fought because he was in a situation where that dog had to prevail at times because his opponent was like, "I'm taking this dog for a walk," and he was like, "No, no, you're not. I'm going to drag you on this leash." So he was very busy with his hands. He was consistently trying to get the advantage.
Right.
He was moving well. I mean, he did a lot of things, and of course, you pointed out a virtuoso type of application that he applied in this fight. And hey, our fans want to hear you tell us all about it because I was overly impressed with your estimation of what he did to win that fight.
Oh, well, thank you, Harold. Yeah, I mean, basically, folks that are listening in, what Harold's talking about is that Anthony Juice Young, and I spoke to him after the fight. We actually spoke about my interpretation of what he was trying to do. But what he did was he pulled Luis Maidial Sanchez into a dogfight, um, which was in fact his plan, and he did say that in the pre-fight meetings. His plan was to create a kind of back and forth tug of war inside fighting, but what was happening was Anthony Young was pushing off, landing big blows, big shots, winning rounds by tying up and working on the tie up, working on as the break occurred if the break was natural, and just kind of pulling uh, Luis Maidial Sanchez, who actually was the longer, taller. He had the height advantage, he had the length advantage, and he gave it up in the fight. And that was particularly because of the manner in which Juice fought the fight. Now, there were a lot of people in the arena, and the people that were in the arena were not happy with the decision. And it was by and large a very pro Sanchez crowd. Lots of Puerto Ricanos in the crowd, and they were not happy with the decision. And I do understand that. I understand why, because it was a very close fight. Sanchez got a point taken away. I think it would have been in the 7th round. I can't really recall, but that point played a big factor in the winning of the fight. But what was most important was that Anthony Juice Young understood that he wasn't going to be able to beat the stronger, longer, taller fighter by trying to box him from the outside. So he really did. The question was this, guys. The question was, so Juice, what do you consider? It wasn't a how. It was actually, what do you consider to be your best weapon? And his answer was, the dog. And I go, the dog? He goes, yeah, my house, the dog house. And I was like, what an interesting answer to give. But as the fight went on and as the fight concluded, it resonated what he was saying. I really understood what it was that he tried to say there without giving it away. And so the point is that however controversial you might have thought the fight was, I can understand that. But it was masterful the way that Anthony Juice Young was able to pull that off. So I know, Juice, you said you're coming on the program. So when you come on the program, we'll share with the listeners of the Boxing Breakdown how you went about doing that. And I think it'll be very insightful for them to understand from your words how that happened. The last fight of the night, the main fight, right? The real macaroni, the big kahuna.
The big kahuna.
Was Christian Tapia versus Iron Alvarez in a super featherweight competition, Harold. And oh Chef Boyardee.
You got a puncher there. That guy is a punch. And once again, Mark saw a sublime tactic that only he could see. And once he told me about it, I was like, oh, I see it. But this guy really, he's a puncher. I mean, you don't want to compare with anybody, but there's a lot of people who are Tank fans, and people know when Tank gets somebody hurt, he's going to take him out. This gentleman has the same type of attributes. He's not the same style, but he will take you out. He is a knockout puncher. There's no doubt about it. That is his mandate. He will get in there and he's going to take you out. He doesn't want to finish it off like that or anything like that. So anytime you got a knockout puncher, he is marketable and he's going to excite the crowd. And he did exactly that.
Right. And both the men, Christian Tapia and Iron Alvarez, both weighed in just about 129 and a half, 129 3/4. And so there was a very competitive fight. It was a 10 round fight. And it went to the 10th round where Christian Tapia was able to score a TKO victory over Iron Alvarez. And again, Benji Esteves was the referee, did a masterful job there as well. But the fight was exciting. And ladies and gentlemen, Christian Tapia, the NABO champion, is actually going to be, there are some big things in line for him in the future. He is now, and he has just advanced to 13-0, coming off of this victory against Iron Alvarez. But prior to that, a very significant victory against Mason Menard, which helped propel him forward as well into this fight. So there's some big things you can expect from Christian Tapia. If you are in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, Washington region, you definitely want to check this guy out. And, if you're a fighter and you're listening to the program, the 130-pound division is on notice. Just saying, you better keep an eye out for the Christian Tapia because he's coming. And, hats off to Iron Alvarez, too, who did a great job.
He was undefeated.
He was so durable, right, Harold?
Yes, he came there undefeated, and he had never lost. And, if you have never lost, you understand what that is. And he was not mentally going to have a loss on his mind or in his record, and he fought that way. So that made a great fight, mark of wheels, and when you get beat like that,
Yeah.
that means you've given your all because he did not lay down. He had to have it taken totally away from him, and Tapia was able to do that. But up until that point, it was a great back and forth fight, and Tapia just prevailed.
Right. No, no doubt. I mean, you are so accurate about that. And hey, Harold, like I wanna really just kind of chop up the Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz PBC pay per view. I know you have
Good
lots
stuff.
of
Good
news
stuff.
on this, man, and I'm excited to hear. We were talking about it pre-show, but I really want you to share with the Boxing Breakdown fans what you have recently learned that has come off the wire.
Well, as we know, going forward, initially he won the fight, as we know, and he hurt his hand around he says around the sixth round. His opponent realized at the fifth round that that left hand stopped coming. And when he realized that left hand started coming, he said, "Oh, I got a hall pass," and he went right after Tank. Now, the first 3 or 4 rounds there, from what I saw, Tank was boxing well. However, Tank is not used to fighting someone who is shorter than he, and
Right.
because he was shorter than he really couldn't use that uppercut that he uses on the bigger opponents, which usually pulverizes them. But at this point, he was too low to the ground. So there, because of that, he had to box and just kind of box and kind of power punch. While doing that, he hurt his hand. Now, he hurt his hand in training, and it healed up enough, but he re-aggravated it in the third round, actually. But he's fought through it. This is pain because no fighter comes to any fight 100% healthy. That does not happen. That will never happen. It doesn't happen. Although Floyd said he did it one time against Arturo Gotti. Out of all his fights, he came in 100% healthy, and you saw what happened. But I digress. So he did hurt his hand hitting Cruz on top of the head, which is, the cranium is very hard. And if you're not used to hitting someone there, which he never really does, he's
Right.
always a shorter man, he did, in fact, hurt his knuckles. However, because of that, we got to see another skill set that we knew he had. Everyone says he has it, but I've never saw it, and it was beautiful. He was turning this guy left and right, just turning him beautifully, keeping his back off the ropes, using one hand, the jab, the left hand, I mean, the right hand, the right jab, and the right hook. And he was very successful. Now, you look at the footage, he got hit sometimes, but a lot of them he pulled away with it. He rolled with the punches. He was hit a few times, but he rolled with a lot of the punches, and a lot of them did land, but it didn't shake him up too much. So the scuttlebutt is he hurt his hand. He was forced to change his style somewhat because of his hand, but because his opponent was shorter, he had to change his style. So we got to see a whole new dimension of him. And to me, that was very impressive. He's hurt. He's fighting an opponent that he's not used to. It was a late replacement, yet he still dominated, to me, in that style.
Wow. Yeah, man. I've only heard great things about the fight. I will tell you that um, there's been a lot of noise about the fact that, Isaac Cruz was really relatively unknown prior to this fight. And there's been a lot of talk in the boxing world about how well Isaac Cruz did against Gervonta Davis.
Well, that's somewhat unfounded. Yes, he did. Yes, he stayed there. Yes, he didn't get knocked out. Yes, yes, yes. There's no doubt about it. They were standing, kissing, hugging, whatever at the end. True, true. However, if in fact that hand was not hurt, that hand was not hurt,
Right.
Cruz was running in there getting hit with straight left hands. He couldn't hit him with any straight left hands after about the fifth, sixth round. So all he had was the hook and the jab, and kind of a token left hand to kind of keep the congruency going when he was coming off the punches. So he couldn't put any power on him. Now Tank said himself he hurt his hand. If he hadn't hurt his hand, he would have got him up out of there. And I believe that clearly because Cruz was running in. He had nothing to lose. And if I can take the shot, I'll take the shot. If I can't, I'm going to go ahead and do my work. The hand was hurt. He was able to do his work. And therefore, Tank couldn't get him out of there. But he would have been gotten out of there, Mark. He would have been knockout number, 16, whatever it was. He would have been out.
Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, as it were, he scored a unanimous decision win in 12 rounds, and he advances on now to 26-0 with 24 KOs. That is
right.
Gervonta Davis we're talking about.
It would have been number 25 had he hadn't hurt his hand, but he hurt his hand earlier in training camp, as I said earlier.
So, hey, Harold, have you heard about this news that Gervonta Davis vacates the 140-pound title?
Yes, that's pretty wise to do so because a lot of people look at the other ones he had as just token titles.
Yeah.
Bull crap, if you will. But this one is going to be the one that's, more recognizable. Is he had a weight that he can kind of be comfortable with. And, you can market this one okay. And, WBA had to kind of restructure themselves. So, you want your marquee people to have your belt that has the most prestige or the most clout.
Yeah.
So it was a wise move, and he's still coming in with a belt, but it doesn't matter, man. The public wants somebody's gonna come in there and viciously knock people out, and that's what he does. So they could care less about a belt. They like the belt, but they just want to see him fight. So strategically, good move. Take the belt, but continue to do what you do. Not people out.
Yeah, for sure. And so he informed the WBA that he'll only keep his lightweight belt. And he had 5 days after the fight with Isaac Cruz, which was last Sunday, I believe, and to choose a division. And he decided that he's going to stay at the 135, man. So does that mean he's going after Kambosos?
Well, right now, I see his management being wise financially.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they're going to go ahead and make hay as they can, and then he's going to have to fight one of these guys sooner or later. But later is fine because he can fight anyone and he's going to sell out. He can fight anyone and he's going to do well pay-per-view. So right now, you might as well ride that horse while that horse got hooves. And until that happens, until you got to shoe it, which means he had to fight one of those other guys, right. you ride with it. So he's gonna do what he has to do. I mean, if you want to be technical about he's following the Floyd Mayweather blueprint, fight right. Hispanic fighters, because the biggest base of boxing is Hispanic fighters, that type of thing. Right. Hispanic fighters, they give their all at all times. That's the culture of their country, Aztecs, this type of thing. So it just makes for, wise decisions financially. And, he's going to win those fights. So eventually they'll throw him in with someone who can really give him a little go. But I don't think anybody's going to really give him a go because that boy, once he gets you hurt, doesn't matter what your length is, what your height is, what your weight is, any of that, he's going to take you out.
Yeah, he's got a lot of torque, man. He's used to fighting tall guys, and boy, does he use his torque on the inside for sure. I mean, he's got one of the best KO ratios in the sport. He's got like a 93, I think like a 93% KO ratio. So he's doing well, and he's got 26 fights. So, I mean, look, big things are coming down the road for Gervonta Davis if he stays doing what he's doing. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what they have. 135, a lot of those guys, I can already see the narrative of the guys that he's going to try to match up against and what he's going to try to do down there at the 135-pound division at this time. He'll probably
at
see
this
how.
time,
Yeah, at
this
this time.
point.
At this time, yeah, because I think he's going to see how things shake out at the 140. He's got a lot of guys. Listen, there is no shortage of talent at 135. I mean, you got tons of opponents, tons of people for him to fight at the 130-pound, weight division. So, yeah, man. I mean, good things coming down the line for Gervonta Davis, and thanks for that update on that, man. And Harold, let's take a moment and switch over and talk a little bit about. Oh man, I don't even know what to say. There's so much to talk about Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. There's just a ton of information to kind of break down here, right? So let's
Yes.
start. Just give me what you got, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. As you know, there was the fight took place. Cam Lopez came out believing his own hype, and he believed that he could take him out early. He told the world he's going to take him out, and he went after him to take him out, which was very clear. Now, in doing that, when you're attacking ruthlessly like that and not paying attention to anything else because you feel you can just overpower, you can be hit. When you attack, you can be attacked yourself. Now, Kambosos was waiting for it, and he clipped him, knocked him down, and he was able to get up. Now, after that knockdown, Lopez forgot about defense. The defense just was negated because in his mind it was like, I got knocked down, I got to go after him. So whatever he was going to take, he's going to take it. He stopped being defensively responsible the minute he got knocked down and got back up. So defense was never in his sight ever other than that. Now, when he started getting hit, he knew he had to kind of put a defense in, but he wasn't coming behind his defense. He wasn't trying to save himself behind his defense so he can be aggressive. He was only using defense after that point, just not to be hit so much this time or other. So he lost an advantage mentally when he got knocked down. So as you know, he went along with the fight, and Kambosos, in his mind, he was not going to lose. Now, Kambosos took a beating. That body, he really got beat up. But mentally, he was not going to lose that fight. He was just not going to lose that fight. He just wasn't. He just wasn't going to lose a fight, no matter what kind of beating he took. Now, he was able to get off on Lopez cleanly, repeatedly. He hit him with some great shots. You heard him a couple of times, but Lopez was just a beast in there. But because he didn't want to be defensively responsible, because his ego was hurt, because he had a flash knockdown, he came in the wrong posture, and Kambosos took advantage of it. He won enough rounds, and he was able to win the fight. Now, after the fight was over, Lopez went to the hospital, your precaution or what have you, because previous to the fight, they thought he had indigestion. He has had asthma since he was very young. That night before, they gave him Tums and ginger ale and all this stuff to kind of ease his indigestion. They thought it was, but it wasn't. Turns to find out he had a hole in his esophagus, and the hole in his esophagus allowed air to get into his chest cavity and his stomach cavity. And there's no air is supposed to be in there, inside you have your organs and you have the interior of your body and your body. There's no air in there. And when there's air in there, that could cause pressure on your organs, and you can have a heart attack, or you can have a collapsed lung, or any of these kind of things. So he was actually fighting with a volume of air inside of his body, outside of his lungs. You have air in your lungs, and you have air outside your lungs, which is not supposed to be there in your cavity. So it's putting pressure on your heart, that air, putting pressure on your lungs, that air. Okay. Now it only came in because he had a tear in his esophagus, and just living or whatever, the air seeped in there. And so it was something very serious that they saw after the fight. Now, there's no way to detect that during uh, 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 doctor's physical for a fight, because you're going to put the stethoscope on, you're going to hear him breathing fine, you're going to hear the heartbeat, but you're not going to know there's air in the cab. There's no way to do that until you have the MRI after. So
Wow.
I'm not saying this tarnishes Kambosos' win, because he wasn't going to lose no matter what. And Lopez came after him with full force. It wasn't like he was hindered by this. His will was, yes, I'm going to have to take this guy out, and he went after him. So I don't know if it really slowed him down some, but that is the scuttlebutt. So he
Wow.
had that situation, and they've repaired it, and he's going forward. However, he's going to have this built-in excuse about his loss. Kambosos is going to have this thing hanging over his head somewhere, saying that he fought a fighter that was subpar.
Right.
So that's always going to be a history note to this fight. And that's something that Kambosos has to live with. And that's the hat
Right.
that Lopez can hang this loss on.
So, I mean, I have so many questions. Like, I got a comment here from Vibration Annalise. It says, Tank's a killer. He had a game plan. The fight just reminded me of Floyd Mayweather and Ricky Hatton. The difference was a KO. So, okay. So I get that. That was a couple of seconds ago we had that conversation. And so I just thought I'd share that with the listeners of the Boxing Breakdown. By the way, if you guys are following us on YouTube and you're listening to the broadcast live right now, please leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much, Vibration, for sharing that comment. Yeah, I can definitely see how you
Well
would make
done.
that comparison. That's a good comparison.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're absolutely right.
Yes, because Ricky was running in there full force, and Floyd was picking him off, running him into check hooks and that type of thing. You're absolutely right. And Vibration, you're absolutely right. Because if Tank did have that left hand, he would have took him out the same way. He would have caught him coming in, them check hooks, those straight left hands, and he would have turned them off, just like Floyd turned off Hatton. Yes,
Right.
great analyst.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for joining us live on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you for allowing us to be with you. It's awesome that you have us in your car or wherever you're listening to your podcast. Yeah, thank you for
Vibration.
sure. So yeah, man. I mean, the thing is, right, is obviously in the interviews pre-fight leading up to the Teofimo Lopez George Kambosos fight, George Kambosos was quoted both on video and sound bites saying that, after I beat Teofimo, there's going to be a lot of excuses that they come out with. So I did, for those of you listening in, I did contact, the Teofimo Lopez camp and ask them if they would join us tonight to kind of clear up some of those comments and really just ask him point blank, like, how is he doing? How's Teofimo doing? And, what happened? And just keep it real straight up. But I'm not sure. They may be busy or they may not be really interested in doing too many interviews at this time. But in any case, I am working on trying to get them, especially Senior, because he's always been a supporter of the program, and I will have them on shortly if it's at all possible. But at this point, it's a no comment, folks. It's a no comment from the Teofimo camp, and yeah. So I also would say that. There's a little bit of scuttlebutt, as you use. That's your word, Harold, scuttlebutt. But there is some scuttlebutt around the idea that maybe Teofimo and the camp underestimated the skills of George Kambosos. I have my thoughts about that, but I want to hear what you think.
underestimated, if that's the word
Yeah.
correctly spoken. Um, well, yes. Initially, he came in there like, I'm going to take this guy out. He is no match for me. I need to go ahead and turn this off. I need to get this money and then move forward. I got too much stuff going on in my life. I need to finish this guy. We didn't drag this thing out for 8, 9, 10 months, whatever it is. Let's go ahead and just finish it off.
Right.
So, in that regard, yes, he underestimated him. He figured he could take him out and just do that. But like I said, it was a detriment to him because when he got knocked down, he stopped being defensively responsible.
Yeah, and certainly there was some comments about the fact that Senior, was just saying, "What you doing, dude? Just go in there and knock this fool out." Um, and
Well, Mark, you spoke to me in Philadelphia about that exact same thing, and the fans would love to hear what you think because as a fan, as a casual, and you are a trainer, I thought it was he didn't do a great job in instructing his son. However, you shared a different level of understanding that I appreciate. So please let
Harold,
let the people know that next level from a
I can
trainer.
thank you because I completely forgot that we had that conversation. And but you're absolutely right. What I said, folks, tuning in, is I said that I felt so as a trainer, when you work with a fighter, as long as Teofimo Sr. has worked with Teofimo Lopez Jr., uh, the bond, first of all, between a father and a son in boxing is tremendous. And they've spent a lifetime, in fact, Teofimo's entire lifetime together. And so for the naysayers that are talking about father-son relationship and, criticizing his work in the corner, what you have to remember is that Teofimo Sr. and Jr. know each other very, very well. They have a
Yeah.
bond that's unbreakable. And so when you hear Teofimo Sr. saying, just go in there and knock him out, you got to understand that what's embedded in that is the entire fight plan. What's embedded in that statement could be, remember what we talked about. We talked about so many things, and this is round, one. And remember what we're supposed to be doing here, right? And so you have to understand that the bond is so deep that sometimes nothing needs to be said. If you're working the fighter's corner in the corner, perhaps you didn't do your job in the training of that athlete in the gym. And so I'm just bringing it up. I'm not saying that that is gravity. I'm just simply saying that you got to understand it's easy to throw stones, right? It's easy to say, he didn't help him. He needs a new trainer. He this, that, this. Yeah, but when he beat Lomachenko, which was a couple of months ago, nobody said anything. They gave him the Trainer of the Year award.
They did.
Nobody said anything. They said, Senior's he's a scientist. Senior's this. Senior's, you know,
Clairvoyant.
he's the next best thing since, right? So now, because, and you got to go with the science here, people. I mean, the doctors said he had air outside of his lungs. It's a life-threatening condition. And if you go back and look at the fight, what happens when you got air misplaced? You can't think clearly. Your body functions aren't working correctly. You're not getting enough oxygen where you're supposed to be getting oxygen. Your eye-hand coordination, your equilibrium is off. I mean, could you imagine all of the things that could be off in that particular type of a situation? And I will tell you, I've never seen a performance quite as what you would call like middle of the road. And I did not see the same fight that most people saw. So I saw a fight that was much closer than the judges gave. And I saw a fight that there were 2 knockdowns in it, and nobody ever talks about it. The reels that are put up online are one-sided reels that show one side of that fight. But if you actually watch the fight, there's a lot more that happened in the fight that would have made it a much evener, more even fight. And so when you hear comments coming out of the Teofimo camp that, we were robbed, we know how this business works, all this stuff that you hear, it seems so off color, but you gotta ask the right questions to get a little deeper into what are you talking about, Senior? What exactly do you mean there? Because we all know that boxing, the sport of boxing can be very unfair. And, the sides can be stacked one way or the other. If you're a fighter out there, you know what I'm talking about. This is it's a hurt business. It's a hurt business. And I had to score, I don't know, Harold, I'm going on a tangent here, bro, but I had to score, and there were 2 knockdowns. Nobody talks about the 2 knockdowns. They talk about the 1 knockdown, how Teofimo got knocked down in round 1. And it was a flash knockdown. He got right back up, and he was fine, and he finished the round, regrouped, went back. And, yeah, his defense, he was using a Philly roll, a Philly shoulder roll, I think by and large because he felt that he could just walk through this guy. But Kambosos had a different thing in his mind, that he was going to come out and he was going to score the points and he was going to land the big shots, and he was going to continue to stay on his bicycle and get that work done. And he did. And every time Lopez walked up, to be in fight range, it almost seemed like he wasn't sure where he was in terms of his distance in relationship to Kambosos. And maybe that's something they have to look at. And that's what you see on the video. But at the end of the day, I don't know. You got to go back and look at the fight again, score it for yourself. I'm not, everyone knows that I'm a big supporter of Teofimo and the camp and these guys, but I'm also very realistic about the fight. And I think that I think you just need to go back and look at that fight again. Okay, without me tainting what you should see, there were 2 knockdowns. That for all intent and purposes, that means that the knockdowns negate one another. Okay, that puts it even. Now go back and watch the fight, and take out the 2 knockdowns, and then score the fight, and tell me what score you get. You're a professional boxing judge, Mr. Harold Hunt. Go and score that fight, and then let's have a conversation on the next boxing breakdown about how, what score you got. I'd love to know what your score is after you watch it. Turn the volume off and then watch it.
I will. That's a good point. And I look forward to that because, I can take out those 2 elements and make it work. Subtract those rather and make it work. So let's do that. I'm going to do that, and we're going to discuss it.
And Harold,
but you are a Lopez fan.
Oh, there's no question about it.
And you are clouded somewhat.
Okay. Somewhat. I have a connection, for all due respect, I do have a connection to them, and I do feel that, I'm always going to look at it objectively too, because it's boxing. And, smoke and mirrors is smoke and mirrors. Cutting through all the nonsense and getting to what's real is what I'm about, trying to really understand what is real, not the story.
The weight situation. Is he going to move up? Even if he was healthy, this was really hard for his body to cut this weight. Yeah. And, he's getting bigger and he's in his prime. And I just don't think this weight is good for him. I really don't. It's unhealthy at this point, regardless of the problem with the air.
Well, yeah, regardless of that, this is what I will tell you. If you go all the way back to the Nakatani fight, and the Richard Comey fight. The team was talking back then about the fact that, Teofimo was busting at the seams to fit into the 135-pound weight class. That goes all the way back to the Nakatani fight, okay? And the Richard Comey fight. So this isn't new. This is not new. If you
Yes,
go
he
back
was
and
struggling
you
for a
follow
while.
his career, his dad has been very vocal to the folks at Top Rank, to everybody he, talks to. Look, this is the last fight my son is going to fight at 135. And he keeps saying it, and for obvious reasons, because what people don't realize is when you try to stuff yourself down into a 135-pound weight class, when you're really like a 140-pound fighter, and you walk around somewhere in the 50s or 60s, then what happens is, trying to get to 135, you're losing so much muscle. There's so
Yes.
much strength, and it just doesn't work, So he's been talking about this forever, and if you hear him say it at the end of the fight or in a post interview, it seems directly connected to, oh yeah, well he's just making another excuse, just another excuse. I get it, but the thing that people don't realize is he has been talking about this for a very long time. And he's been very concerned about it in terms of the detriment of Teofimo. So,
Yeah, to his body,
yeah,
because he really suffers every time he has to do this.
yeah.
And
It's a big jump, Harold.
it is. And he has to cut that weight pretty quickly. And this time he was yo-yoing, Mark, up and down, fight canceled, COVID, up and down, up and down, up and down. So that was really a toll on his body.
Yeah,
The only
and
example I can, oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead,
I,
please.
I was going to say the only example I can think of was when Roy Jones had an issue when he went up, he came down and he lost so much muscle mass and muscle twitch mass and all that. He became like an average fighter after he went up to heavyweight and came back down. So I wouldn't like that to happen to Lopez. He still has his reflexes and all that. I think he should go ahead and move up. So we don't know what the Eagles going to say as far as him coming back down and fighting Kambosos again, or he's going to move up or what have you. But for his health, outside of the thing with the esophagus and the air and all that, I would move up. He's what, 23?
Yeah,
23 years old?
he's a baby. I mean, he's young, and I mean,
He,
definitely. I
he's
think
resilient. He can come back from cutting weight like that back and forth.
yeah, and I don't think there's even a question about whether or not he's going up to 140. He will be fighting at 140. He's got his eye on Josh Taylor and all kinds of guys up there. He's looking to campaign at 140. He's not going back down to 135. That's just not going to happen. If Gervonta Davis and all these guys want to meet, they can meet up at 140 when they get a little older.
Maybe
And
catch
I'm
weight.
sure, yeah, I'm sure that's what he is thinking. That just like he's outgrowing the division, a lot of the other guys are going to outgrow the division or get knocked off before they outgrow the division, and one way or the other, they will meet. The guys who are supposed to meet will meet at a weight.
Yeah, I don't see Mr. Haney going anywhere. Not right now.
Nah, nah. I mean,
And
because
I
there's
don't.
still a lot of money to be made at that
Right,
135.
right. And we know as long as Tank is there, everyone wants that golden ticket. You,
Yeah.
you get a golden ticket and a golden butt whooping, but you get both.
A golden butt woman.
Because you're going to get it. You're going to get the boy got a chance. Well, I don't want to keep. We can't go back to that. We've already discussed that. But he's able to take a punch.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Harold, man, it is. First of all, it was so great that we were
It
all
was,
together,
man. We had a ball,
and
man.
we were able to call that show live from Atlantic City at the Showboat. I think the next fight is going to be at Live in Philadelphia, and I look forward to being with you again there to call that show. And we had a great time, man. I was smiling like the Cheshire cat from cheek to cheek the
You
entire
saw my
time.
picture. My relatives like, man, you look happy. I said, man, I really, really was. I enjoyed myself with
Yeah,
that,
man. I got
and
one. I got one photo of us that I felt was probably, you know, probably the best photo of them all. I'm gonna see if I can find the photo. I'll
Let's
just
see it.
humor the listeners on the boxing breakdown. I'll just humor you guys and show you this picture because it really was a great shot of us. And boy, you look dapper, man. You look all pulled together.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much, thank you very much. As you are also with the nice sweater and jacket combination, quite nice. Check out the haircut. The man's beard is in place. He's quite dapper right there.
Yeah, man. We had a great time. That was a great night. And yeah, man. Until next time, Harold. Thank you
Yes,
so much as always. We will
thank you
catch you
so much.
guys listening in on the Boxing Breakdown. We will see you next time on the next episode of the Boxing Breakdown. I hope you've enjoyed being with us. And if you like the podcast, please tell people about it. That's how we get to ensure that the podcast continues. If you want to check it out on YouTube, you can find us at the Boxing Breakdown. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts at the Boxing Breakdown. And until next time, peace and love, and we'll see you on the other side. We are out.
Take it easy.
Peace.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxy and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxy.